So one thing I learned working with JJ is it's stunt work. It's not stunt school.
Totally.
So when you go to work, you have to be ready.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is an action director and is currently the fight coordinator of Lucifer Season 6. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Mr. Vlad Rimburg.
Hell yeah, Travis. It's
What's
nice
up,
to
dog?
be back.
It would have been better for me to say welcome back, because this is technically your third time on the JAMCast?
I think this is the fourth
time, technically. Yeah. Holy crap. Which is insane. And what's even crazier is I feel like it's been almost over a year and 3 months since the last time you were on it.
I feel like you really know how long it's been. Like you calculated, but at the same time, like look at my hair.
Yeah,
that's how you know it's been some time, which is also why I'm very excited to be here.
Totally.
Because after this, I can finally cut it.
Oh, how short are you going to cut this?
Back to like, an
Old
inch.
School?
Yeah.
No way. Is this for a project or a personal choice?
I think it was something that my wife wanted. And because of COVID, it was the perfect opportunity to just grow it out.
Okay.
I think this is the longest it's ever been.
Yeah, dude, it is super long. It's crazy though. And with the other thing that I can also tell of how long it's been since we've talked is your daughter now is almost going to be what, 2 in a couple of months?
She turned 2 a few months ago.
No way.
Yes.
So then that's how long it's been, because she was just a baby when you last were on here. Just
running around, screaming, yelling, shouting, and then all the beautiful things too.
Has the training begun, or what's that situation like?
You know what? It kind of has. Okay. If I tell her to kick, she'll throw a kick. She knows bam, 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 boom.
Nice.
And she'll say bam, bam. If I'm watching any kind of a fight scene, she'll watch for a little bit.
That's cool.
But I taught her, I think in the 10-minute time frame, I showed her butterfly. And I showed her the Chinese splits.
Yeah.
But I taught it to her in Russian, so I say shpagat. So I'll be like, sabar shpagat, and she'll just sit down into the splits.
No way.
And that's all I need her to do right now.
Yeah.
Nothing more.
That's true. Yeah, my parents were all about like flexibility and then just like coordination drills very early on. And then just kind of like let me mimic and mirror stuff to segue in until I was old enough to like fully comprehend. So
yes, she's
on the right path. That's crazy. And another big marker that I want to talk about, because I'm so proud of this as well, is the last time you were on here, we talked about the only time we've collabed in the last decade, which was for a short we did online known as Ballerina, female John Wick.
Yes.
Look it up. We'll put it on the screen. When we last talked, it was at 4.7 million views. And when I last checked, it was over 7 million views, which is insane.
Hell yeah. I think it's getting close to 8 million. And for any of you that want to check it out, you can go to youtube.com/Vlad Rimburg or VJ Vlad.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
The first of many plugs to the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Get prepared, ladies and gentlemen. Vlad knows the platform. But dude, yeah, I was so stoked to see that. And overall, in general, the channel's continue to grow. I think you're at I don't want to be wrong on this, so don't quote me, guys, but you're over 30 million views on the channel combined at this point. From shorts like that, there's the one that you have with Caitlin Deshelle that's gone pretty viral as well. I think there's 7 or 8 videos now that are all in the multi-million type views, or at least over 1 million.
Yeah, I think it's close to 7. I'm going to make a new playlist, Millionaires Club.
Crazy.
It's nice. It's just nice to know that your work is being viewed all over the world.
Totally. And have you gotten any opportunities for work directly from your YouTube stuff or from the channel and the views that you're getting? Or is it mostly just through the usual avenues, I guess?
I've been reached out several times for projects because of the work I've put out.
Dope.
The head coach of the Spanish karate team reached out to me, I think 2 years ago, because he saw Os 2.
Yes.
And he was looking for someone to come in and talk to his team about choreographing the form section.
Nice.
When the 3 guys go ahead and fight one another.
Yes.
But unfortunately, our rates were a little too much. I told him, hey, I have to come out with Brendan. Because Brendan was a choreographer on that. I choreographed the first one. I'd say I choreographed 95% of it.
Okay.
The second O's, Brendan probably choreographed a good 60%,
nice.
70%. And I just, made sure that we had everything that I wanted as far as storytelling goes, the storytelling aspect of the fight.
And so I got to ask, with that many views, is one of your channels still demonetized? Because I remember when we first talked, you had one channel that you were actually just letting the rights and the money go to the artist of the songs, if that makes sense.
That is correct, yes. The second channel, though, that was my Vlad Rimburg channel.
Yes.
When I reached 100,000 subscribers on VJ Vlad, I'm like, I don't want a plaque that says VJ Vlad. I want to say Vlad Rimburg. So I actually went ahead and disabled the other account.
No way.
Yes. But I was surprised at how fast I was able to go ahead and reach the 1,000 platform and I think it's like 4,000 hours viewed in order to
get monetized. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. But I had issues monetizing that channel. The channel that had no copywritten music wouldn't get monetized.
No way.
So what I did was I went back to the VJ Vlad channel because someone recommended that I try it again. Chris Clements, someone that I've been working with recently, VFX guru, said he had to apply 3 times before he could get monetized. So the first time I applied, there was like a 1 month wait. And then they're like, we're sorry, but you don't qualify. I'm like, great. Didn't think anything about it. And then I tried again, I think maybe 9 months later after Chris had recommended it, and then went through. Now, again, all the videos that have been monetized for other people because of music purposes, that still is the same. But I'll try to go ahead and put up videos and try to get some monetization, just so that way that money can be invested into future projects.
Yes. So
I can confidently tell the audience that around a 1 year time frame, I made about $140. That's what I'm talking about. You don't even know.
You know what's crazy though is if you had monetized the channel that has like 30 million views, that would have been a significant amount of money. It would have been crazy.
The way that the monetization works is quite interesting. I mean, you pretty much have to get 1,000 views to make $1.
Yeah. It just depends also on like the length of the video too. Absolutely, because once you hit 10 minutes, that's when you can manage your mid-roll ads, and that's where you can like put ads whenever you want to. So like, like on our jam breakdowns, once we found that out, we started implementing ads like every 2 minutes as opposed to every like 10 minutes. And you can actually make a lot more even off 1,000 views. You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah. Well, I just got to make something that long.
I know. I know.
Which I kind of have been trying to make.
Yes. And that's a good segue into it too, because obviously there's so much I want to talk about, whether it's professionally as far as like SAG-AFTRA stuff is concerned since we last had a discussion, and also in the YouTube world. So I guess let's just like briefly talk about this, because obviously we can't give a lot of spoilers away. But you put out like a mini tease to the world on your Instagram, and all you did was a caption that said 2022, and there's a clip that is in a recognizable spot, which is my backyard. And so can you just let the world know about this project that you kind of just teased us with, but is up in the air, I guess?
It's a project that I started during the pandemic. I think 6-8 weeks into this thing, I was going crazy. I put out everything that I could put out from the past, unfinished projects. I was editing reels. I was doing anything that I could creatively behind the computer, but I still had that creative drive and need.
Yes.
From a physical point, running around with a camera, doing take after take, stuff like that. So I want to go ahead and do a short film. I reached out to some people to see how they felt about everything, and we came up with a game plan to try to make it the safest environment we could. So we went ahead and started to shoot. We shot at Micah Karn's place.
Yes.
Micah's in this, hell yeah. And Micah's actually, you can say he's co-producing this with me, and he's co-writing it with me.
Dope.
So it started off as a short film. And then after we finished shooting at your place, I think we had like 6 minutes of the short. We spoke about it, and we're like, you know what? Nothing's going on. Let's see what else we can do with it. So essentially, we started piecing together shorts into a feature. So segments and segments and segments, the way I thought would really work. Okay. And since we began, we have 21 edited minutes.
Oh, snap. That's pretty long.
Yeah. Holy crap. I'm going to try to make a feature.
And how much dialogue, what percentage would you say is dialogue versus action, if that makes sense?
How much dialogue? You see that little spot right there compared to, So I've been a huge fan of Charlie Chaplin and the silent era movies. And I've always felt that I want to try to relay a story through physical action.
Yes.
So there is dialogue. It's minimal, but it's there.
Okay.
When we have other players join the project, there will be much more dialogue.
Makes sense.
It's not super duper important, in my opinion, to have dialogue, to have a story progress.
Totally.
I had this conversation with someone. I told him, hey, in 2012, The Artist, which is a black and white movie, which has zero dialogue except for like maybe the last couple of minutes, took home a lot of Oscars.
Yeah.
black and white silent film. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
Because it's been some time, people haven't seen that in a while. So as long as you know how to pace all the visuals, I think you're on the right track.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, there's 20 years of filming experience, being put into this project, and all the experience I've gained from working overseas, working on Lucifer, being a better storyteller, finding out what kind of moments I need to relay the scene and the tone and exactly what's going on.
Yeah,
so,
totally. I mean, that's one of the true marks of someone that's like a really good action designer that we've talked about on previous podcasts before, is that it's not about the choreography, because, no one remembers beat by beat what you did in your choreo. It's all about moments, and more importantly, like storytelling through the action and through setting it up and having, arcs and falls and things like that. I mean, I've worked on a project that's a major motion picture, G.I. Joe Retaliation. There's an 8-minute scene in there where there's no dialogue at all. It's just completely action driven and just driven by gestures and whatever's happening in the scene. And you don't even realize that you just watched 10 minutes out of an hour and a half long movie with not a single word spoken. So it can be done.
Absolutely, yes. Someone told me a while back, they're like, Vlad, you need to make a Vlad action feature. I'm like, I have no idea what that means. You're crazy. How can I just go ahead and make action after action after action? Well, sure enough, in the 21 minutes, there are 9 action sequences.
Wow.
So technically, in 2020, I shot 9 shorts.
Yeah.
What have you guys been doing, huh? What have you guys been doing? No, but then again, it's a very sensitive time.
Yeah, 100%. And my question for you is what percentage are you completed on that project? Do you see it as something where you have an end in sight and you have like the final pieces together, or is it something that's kind of open-ended right now?
Well, we're looking at an 80-minute time frame.
Wow.
Like a full feature.
Okay.
But if we can't get there, I have 80 minutes worth of outtakes. So, you know what I'm saying? I'll just make the outtake end credit reel a lot longer. But what's been going on, the way we've designed this and set it up is very Hong Kong style, where we're writing as we go. Okay. We make changes as we go.
Totally.
I edit things, I look over, and then we'll go ahead and reshoot. Hence why we've been at your backyard for, a
couple of days.
Just a couple of days times many.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And I guess the reason why I want to ask that is because in the world that we work in professionally, as far as like SAG-AFTRA and stuff is concerned, it's very rare that you don't get to finish a project, because obviously producers and financiers have put in so much money into a project that you at least see it through. Maybe it doesn't see the light of day or distribution doesn't go well, but usually you get it in the can. Whereas in the indie film world, stuff happens all the time where there's injuries, scheduling conflicts, even just like location-based stuff. And I say this because just over COVID alone, I know of like 3 specific projects that you put out on your YouTube where they were basically quote unquote like unfinished projects.
Yes.
And so couple parts to this question. One, how many projects do you think you have in the can that have like not been finished? It doesn't have to be like an exact number, but is this something that happens quite frequently? And B, at what point do you determine to just not finish it and just like put out, I guess, what we get to see?
I think anywhere between 5 and 10 unfinished projects.
Okay.
I have just sitting on the computer on the hard drive waiting for me, calling me, Vlad, please. I'm like, I'm not ready for you
Play
yet.
with me, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't happen regularly if everyone is around. That's the thing. When I started shooting, it was with people that had regular jobs. No one was working in the entertainment industry.
Totally.
So everyone had a set schedule. Now, as everyone progressed and they got into the business, Brendan started working, and Micah started working, and Jimmy started working, and Guy started working, and Mickey started working, and Alan Joe started working, and all these people started working. I'm like, well, we started a project. How are we going to be able to finish it? And then sometimes you just forget about things, or you get a little bit unmotivated, and you're looking over it, and you're like, you know what? This isn't the best thing coming out of me right now, and I don't know if I want to put it out. So sometimes what I do is I wait with projects, because I feel like if I watch it in the edit, meaning I just look at it on the timeline. I look at it, then I don't look at it for like 2-3 months, and then I look at it again. I'll somehow in the back of my head start formulating ideas on how to piece it together. Prime example was Right-Handed with Tony Chu, Guy De Silva, and Tyler. We shot it in 2012, summer of 2012. I didn't put it out till like 2013, summer 2013, because I was nervous about the edit that I made.
Yes.
And there were transitions in there that I wasn't comfortable with. And it wasn't until later when I shot more and I had more experience and I understood the kind of tricks I was doing that I was able to go ahead and finish it.
Makes sense.
So there, for example, one of the projects that hasn't been done was a project from 2009 or 10 when Andy Long came to the United States. It's a mini superhero project.
Okay.
So I look at it once every year.
And it's still in the can.
And it's still in the can.
What camera was that one shot on?
That was shot on Dennis Rule's Canon 7D.
Okay.
Yeah,
so at least it's HD.
Yeah, it's at least, hey, yeah, that's right. At least it's 1080. I think it's 1080.
That's wild, man. And yeah, the only reason I asked is because, you know, for anyone that follows your channel, we'll put some of them on screen. But you recently put out, over the quarantine, you put out Sacrifice 2, I believe. You put out Outbreak, which was one from like 2015, I think. Yeah. But then you also teased us with one that was with Brian Sloyer, and you teased it as one of the first ones on your Gemini, your red Gemini camera, which was Reset. Yeah. Is Reset still being done, or what's the current state of that one?
So we shot that pre-COVID.
Okay.
We shot everything. I just wanted to redo the intro because we have like a 1 minute oneer.
Oh, no way. Okay, sick.
Overall, I'm happy with it. But the psycho in me, the perfectionist in me is like, I want to reshoot it. But it'd be impossible to do that now.
Yeah.
So everything's shot. It's almost all pieced together. I need to do sound design. And then I send it in for VFX.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for a little bit more work so that way I can properly pay for all the VFX that need to be done because it's going to be one bloody gory mess.
Wow.
And I'm excited about that, yeah.
That's super dope. And that's also something I have noticed as well. Is like, obviously I've seen in your own previous design where even you do like little VFX now and stuff that we used to not do. But what do you do as far as like outsourcing and stuff like that? Because I think that's something that maybe a lot of other independent filmmakers may not know or be concerned about. And so maybe you could just shed some light on that, which is like, if there's something that you can't do yourself, how are you able to achieve these VFX in your projects?
Money, 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 money. So real quick, what I tell people is when you transition to the professional world from the indie world, you create art for other people. And when you create art for other people, you start making money.
Yeah.
And when you start making money, you can go ahead and start investing in your own projects. An investment in, for me, would be something like VFX. So I go to someone like Chris Clements, who did the Star Wars Scene 38, the one he did with Phil, and then he also did a short with Eric Linden. I mean, he's awesome. We did the Gambit proof of concept together in 2014.
I know that one.
And then we got reconnected in 2019, 5 years later.
Okay.
But before that, it was just, you know, word of mouth, reaching out to people. I would use my friends. I'd pay them whatever I could because I support creativity. If my friends need money, I'm not just going to give them money. I'm going to tell them, well, what are you good at? And let me use that, you know, so that way it's a fair trade. But I would reach out to people, and if they were busy, they'd refer me to someone else. Joseph Lee helped out, for example, on Model A. Dope. Because he had worked with Brian and Andy Lee, and I reached out to them and I said, hey guys, who do you use for VFX? And, you know, they put me in touch with Joseph. Dope. So the best thing to do also is, I mean, if you're a YouTuber and you're looking for someone to do VFX, put it out there. Let people know. Let people know what it is that you're looking for. No one's going to be able to help you if they don't know you need help.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. That's a huge, huge piece of advice. And it's also just cool to just see like collaboration happens on all levels. You know, we're so used to working on these like actual you know, Hollywood productions and stuff like that where there's teams designated, but you can still achieve the same final project. You just may have to spend a little bit of money and make those connections. That's
how I have fun. You know, like for example, for my wife and daughter, I get them gifts, I take them places, I make them feel good the best way that I can. For me, the way I make myself feel good is by investing and paying people to do work.
Totally.
That don't necessarily get an opportunity to work with me in the professional world. I've brought Chris over for a couple of projects.
Cool.
But it's not like I can give him a job on Lucifer, you know, whereas with the stunt people, there's a different kind of a negotiation, you can say. For anyone that's all like, well, Vlad, if you're paying your VFX guys and you're paying a makeup artist, why don't you pay your stunt guys? I'm like, because it's school and it's education.
Yeah.
And one thing I learned working with JJ, it wasn't a comment directed about me, but it was a comment directed at the performers. He's like, it's stunt school. I'm sorry. Sorry, everyone. Take that back. So one thing I learned working with JJ is it's stunt work. It's not stunt school.
Totally.
So when you go to work, you have to be ready. Many times, you know, performers will come on board and they're like, I'm supposed to do what? I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to throw a punch. I don't know how to throw a funk kick because all I do is flip in the air or all I do is drive cars, you know, like know what it is that you're going in for. My job, for example, as a fight coordinator, I have to be on top of my game so good that if everything gets turned around, within a matter of minutes, I need to come up with a solution.
Yep.
Same thing as a second unit director. When we were doing the finale for season 4 of Lucifer, day number 1 was amazing. It was amazing. I got all my shots that I needed. Day number 2 took a while. Main unit was supposed to be done by 6 p.m. and we were supposed to be out by like 1 a.m. We didn't start shooting second unit till 11 p.m.
Wow. Yeah.
And Joan, our UPM at the time, was wonderful. She's like, just do whatever you need to do to finish it.
Wow.
And we took out a significant amount. And the result of that was the finale is not played back in order. It still works, which is perfect. It's great. But it's not played in the order that I designed it to be played in because we ran out of time and we couldn't get those essential moments to piece everything together. But as a second unit director, it was my job and my responsibility to, 1, get out of there as soon as we could.
Yeah.
And 2, make sure we had everything we needed to tell the story. But the other great thing was, as a second unit director, when main unit was out on lunch, I had 7 setups done in a 30-minute time frame.
That's crazy.
You know, and that all comes from the experience. So I saw the podcast, the JAMCast that you did with Aaron Toney, and Aaron said a beautiful thing. It's all about what it is that you want to do. You know, if you want to be a stunt double, if you want to be a stunt performer, then you have to dedicate that time into the training, into the knowledge that you need to be the best stunt performer or double that you can be. I've been dedicating my time, I'd say maybe since like 2006, 2007, to just being behind the camera.
Yeah.
And learning how to tell the story and learning how to make performers look good. That's why I was doing also the classes at JAM for free. All you had to do was just, show up.
And be on time.
Yeah. And I was trying to help people become better with their physicality, with their punches and their kicks. I'm a firm believer in basics. Basics work. I'm seeing coordinators try to come up with flashy moves, like on TV shows and things like that, and that doesn't always work because you don't have the time.
Yeah.
If you're going to come up with flash, it's got to be somewhere where you have ample amount of time, usually an actual movie, where you have weeks to prep. But on TV shows, it's fast. Sometimes you're coming up with choreography on the spot. Sometimes you don't know who your performers are going to be because things get all crazy. And then when you meet them, you realize that they don't have the skill set that you were hoping. So you got to start changing things around. I mean, it's the world that we're in. It's a fast-paced world. And once you start getting into a higher position, any word that's got the word coordinator attached to it, like as a main person, like you're the stunt coordinator, or you're the fight coordinator, you have a lot more responsibility and obligations on your hands, and you have to think a lot faster than anyone else.
Yep.
You know, we talked about it before. At the end of the day, everyone goes home, they relax. We don't.
Yep, not at all.
Budgets or, fight coordinators shooting and editing the previs. There's a lot of stuff that we do. So again, it's all about investing your time and working towards what it is you want to do.
100%. And that's why that's why I always bring up your YouTube and your indie film stuff so much, because obviously we could sit here and have just an hour-long discussion just upon the SAG projects you've been doing. We're going to get into Lucifer in a second, Penny Dreadful, all these other stuff that you've done in Hollywood cinema. But the real work and, like you said, experience is being built by doing these own personal projects. And it's something that we've talked about at length on multiple podcasts together about, is that the best way to get better is to continue to shoot things on your own and to gain this experience, because not only do you have to be on top of your game to make adjustments as a coordinator, but you have to have faith in your team and know that you have individuals that can adjust to things on the fly and stuff like that. And I find that a lot of guys, that haven't spent a lot of time doing their own fight scenes or just have minimal experience on set, they kind of get, you know, like they look like a deer in headlights on these major shows when a change has happened. I mean, I just taught workshops last month where I had people just doing like 6 to 10 punch combos in the mirror. And then I said, turn around, now go. And everyone froze. And I'm like, that is not acceptable on a real set. You know how many times they'll tell you to face the other direction? Yeah. The choreo hasn't changed. You just need to be there and have the experience as a performer to be able to uphold your end.
Yeah, there's some kind of psychological block that restricts you from being able to move.
Yeah, even though it's the same moves that you've been doing. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's super crucial, but it all comes down to, you know, putting in the time on your own. And then also like you talked about how we may not necessarily pay people on your stunt indies, but then we try to bring them onto other smaller projects here and there. You know, that's something that happens all the time. And I don't view it as using them because I feel like we're giving them experience.
Absolutely.
And then we'll try to put them in on, you know, smaller budget SAG projects, whether it's low media or SAG modified budget. You and I even did a project pre-COVID, which was produced by Chris Brown.
Yep.
It's called Primitive. And I want to let you know, I saw the edit and it looks dope.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited.
That was like our first official SAG project we've collabed on,
yes.
I think, in our careers. And I stunt coordinated, you fight coordinated, and action directed. And dude, it came out dope. But what was cool is we got to bring in a lot of the boys who are just friends of ours and up and coming. We even got to Taft Hartley, Ryan Clarenbach, Rhinosaurus Flex. He's now part of SAG because of that.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Yes,
you deserve it.
Exactly, you know. But it just comes down to like giving those guys those opportunities because you never know when you're going to be put in a hot spot. I just did a music video also, I think it was post-COVID times, during COVID, and I brought Omar Zaki on. And it was his first time shooting a gun on set. And you just take for granted that there's like little things like that you may not have done before, where I just assumed like, oh, all of our friends have shot guns. Yeah. You know, so it's just cool that like we can slowly start to give guys these chances. And
absolutely. And something you touched up on, it's as far as the using, in my opinion, this is stunt school. Yeah. This is absolutely stunt school. You get to work with some of the best people that also consider you friends. Yeah. You know, for me, for example, when someone like Brendan came on board or someone like Yi came on board, I was very creative. I was very controlling when it came to the choreography. I wanted people to do exactly what I told them to do, move for move. But then within time, they understood my ideas, my concepts, and they're like, hey, Vlad, is it okay if we present something to you? And then it's like, Brendan would be like, hey, I have a Vlad idea. And I welcome those, especially, for example, like on Lucifer. Yeah. I'm working with Morgan, I'm working with Aaron Alexander, and these guys understand how I work. And when I get thrown a little bit of a curveball, you can say, I need to start figuring out the story. So I'm going to rely on these guys to come up with some of the choreography beats, but I make sure that they stay within the context of the story and what it is that we're trying to present. So it all depends as well. You know, sometimes as a fight coordinator, you're expected to be a fight choreographer, but if you've had enough experience with your team, you can kind of delegate that. You're like, hey, come up with some moves, and I'm going to place them where I see fit in the story so it makes sense. Yeah. And again, that all comes from experience. Choreographing comes from experience of choreographing or working with someone that's forcing you to do move after move after move after move after take with them. But what I try to do with that, the kind of education that I'm trying to provide, is kind of a basic foundation for choreography, you know, because people nowadays, to be honest, are super duper lazy. When COVID hit,
I concur.
I have a group called Kicks at Jam.
Yes.
So everyone knows when I come to Kick at Jam, and I sent a list of movies.
I saw.
Yeah.
I'm in that group.
I'm going to pretend like you're not. Yeah. So I told people to go ahead and watch it, and when they're done, you know, I'll give them the next batch, and it's like 14 to 19 movies. So that way they have an understanding of choreography and all the different ideas and things like that. But very few people actually made it to batch number 5. I'm going to give props to Micaiah Chow and Caitlin Hudson for watching, I don't know, maybe like 60 movies, 80, 100 movies during COVID. You know, what a terrible homework assignment you have. Go home and watch a movie. And the reason I want people to watch these movies is so that way they have an idea of choreography. Because that's another form of education that you might not be able to get because you're not shooting with someone like Travis or someone like myself or Chris Cohen or Manny
Yes.
or the Lee brothers, you know, or with Joseph nowadays, you know, or with Felix.
Yeah, Sloyer.
Or Sloyer, absolutely. Jaquan. There's a group of people that are out there in the shoot. But to be honest, we're also very hesitant to bring newcomers.
Agreed.
Because that means you have to start all over. Yeah. But I've been doing that since, 2000. People come and they go. Like, they come, they get busy with work, and then I have to bring on the next prospect. Last year, I shot with a couple of 15-year-olds that we talked about. And then, in about 5 years, they'll be making more money than I will. Probably 5 to 10 times more, but that's because they're performers and they're talented. And as long as, they keep working at it, they have a bright future ahead of them. Anyone. I just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. Practice, 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 practice. If you want to be good at something, practice. You and Aaron spoke about it on the 100 JAMCast. Yeah. It's like any kind of sport you take up. You're not going to become good
unless you put in time.
Absolutely, yes. So anyone out there, if you want to be a good performer, you got to practice. If you want to be a good choreographer, you have to practice. If you want to be a good anything, you have to practice.
Yep.
Anything and everything. You want to be a good cook, a good chef, you got to practice. You want to learn how to dance, you got to practice. I don't understand this whole idea in our industry where you can just come in and BS your way to the top, and I'm not a fan of that. Yeah. I know people aren't happy with me calling certain people out, but listen, we're all working very hard here, and your skill set should define who you are, not your mouth.
Yeah,
like, hey, people, don't run your mouths just to get to the top. Work hard. Work hard, because everyone knows who's working hard and who's not working hard.
Yeah, this isn't one of those skill sets where you can just kind of fake. It's not like a roulette table where you can walk up and you can just guess red or black and maybe you win. Like, this is one of those things where, like, very inherently you can tell who's put in the time, who hasn't. And it's kind of funny that you bring up Caitlin specifically because, you mentioned she's one of the 2 people that watch all the features. I even saw that she's recently been shooting her own stuff that she's been putting out. I've worked with her alongside on a couple of different projects as well. And I also noticed that she was one of the lead doubles in your Penny Dreadful season finale, which is a great segue into the SAG-AFTRA projects and stuff that you've done since our last podcast. But it also speaks volumes, which is like, if you see someone's putting in the time and effort, you're going to then probably give them a chance on a real live show.
Yes, absolutely. And when it comes to effort, so there's some groups of people that I've reached out to, and I said, I think it'd be a good idea if you made a previs of this, if you replicated this and that. So Caitlin, I reached out to her a while back, and I said, I think it'd be a great idea if you replicated True Romance.
Yes.
That scene with James Gandolfini.
Yes.
Because we'll get to see more of your acting, and we'll see physicality that people don't see. If you want to stand out, do things that are different. Everyone is trying to choreograph stuff without having knowledge of real choreography. So I told Caitlin to make this, and she didn't. Time went by, and then I spoke with Amy Studevant.
Yes.
And Amy and I were talking. I think she was saying that she wants to shoot something. I said, well, you know what? I tried to get Caitlin to put this thing together. Maybe you want to do it. Sure enough, Amy Studevant did it.
Yes.
And I think she killed it. I think she did a great job.
It was great.
Robert Dill was amazing. Everyone was great.
It was great.
That was the video I used to get Caitlin the job on Penny Dreadful.
Just using an indie shot
just
for fun.
That, yes. I spoke with Mark Norby. There was someone else in the competition for the double role, and I showed him the video, and I think that was a lot of leverage.
Of course.
Because Penny Dreadful was completely... So I showed Mark Norby the video.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lot of leverage to go ahead and bring Caitlin in.
Yeah, totally.
Because Penny Dreadful was a whole different kind of a beast as far as choreography goes.
Yeah,
hell yeah, 100%. Segue. Don't forget, youtube.com/VJVlad, Facebook.com/Vlad Rimburg, Instagram.com/Vlad Rimburg.
Hey, yo, and also just so you know, you got a single camera here you point at.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's the 2-shot.
I like the 2-shot. I want people to know. Hell yeah, I care. But I'm going to start going in there. Hell yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You see how long it's been?
I know.
See how long it's been?
It's so funny.
I've been doing interviews in front of the computer.
Yes, just single Zoom meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's totally cool, man. And Penny Dreadful is something that I wanted to bring up too, because honestly, like, I got to see that you worked on a couple of scenes on season 4, but obviously the one that I want to bring up the most is like the season 4 finale, which was a beast of a scene. I have a couple of questions that I've always wanted to ask you about it, and I'll put it on the screen so people can kind of see some behind the scenes of the previs. But that previs was a beast itself. It's like almost 2 minutes or more that you put out, which is incredible. But it just looks like there's so much shit going on during it. So got a couple of questions. Let's talk about prep first and previs, and then we'll talk about the actual shoot. So just on the previs, how many days did you have allotted to shoot the previs, and how many performers did you bring in to replicate all of those bodies for the final shot?
We had 2 days to prep.
Okay.
And to replicate 50 stunt performers and about 200 background, I think I had 9 to 10 people.
Wow. Just recycle, reuse.
Recycle, reuse. The idea behind the prep was we'll go ahead and have different color T-shirts.
Nice.
That would be the best way to represent the 2 different groups of people. And when you have different color T-shirts, anyone can put on a T-shirt.
Yeah, totally.
And become person A, B, C, D, Y, Z. And this is actually something that we use. This was the formula that we used when we did the first episode of Penny Dreadful, because that was also a 50-man fight with about 100 background. So we took what worked from episode 1 and put it to use in episode 10. But on episode 1, we only had 1 day to prep that. Episode 10 was nice. The director, Mr. Richard Lewis, hell yeah, I call him the mad genius. He provided very detailed notes. We also had a storyboard. When I get a storyboard, beautiful.
Totally.
I have something to follow.
Totally.
And no one can say anything about that. Like, oh, I don't know if I like this shot. Well, it's in the storyboard.
Yeah.
You guys were going to follow it. So it definitely made things a lot easier. Okay. When everything on the script is clear, and when you have a visual, it makes the previous process a lot easier because you know the direction that you're going in.
Yeah.
So that helped out a lot.
100%.
Also, I mean, Mark Norby, our stunt coordinator, Brian Duffy, our assistant stunt coordinator, we would get together and talk about everything, figure out which direction we wanted to go in, what kind of ideas for choreography are good, what do we think is too lavish and won't work for the theme and the tone, which was reality. A lot of conversations were had to make that happen and to give it the life and energy that it needed without it looking too staged and choreographed.
Yeah, and that was a question I had. Was obviously you have a lot of stuff happening in the foreground, but obviously there's so much actions happening in the background, whether it's people running and crossing, creating just wipes, or it's also just like background pod fights. When you choreograph in a scene like that, how do you approach it? Do you approach it by doing section by section, or do you like leave some freedom for your skilled performers to do their own background fights on their own?
It all depends on the show. Sometimes I'll just go section by section because in my head I already know what I want to accomplish.
Okay.
Other times, and this is something that I actually picked up from Sam Hargrave and his guys when we were working on Wolf Warrior 2 here.
Yes.
We sit down and we talk about the scene, and we'll dedicate maybe an hour to it. So everyone's on the same page and we all understand where we're going. Because sometimes what can happen is, especially with directors, is they have ideas in their head, but they don't know how to relay that.
Totally.
That's the worst thing I think you can do as a coordinator of any sort, as a stunt coordinator, as a fight coordinator, even as a previous guy, is go in a direction and not have the team follow you because they don't know what the hell is going on. They'll do what you tell them, but if they don't know what's going on, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to envision everything as well. You know,
I can't tell you how many times this happened to me as a performer, where you walk on set and have no idea what the hell is going on. Yeah.
So with anything I do, I try to give as much information as I can, as much clarity, because again, I welcome ideas because I know how to navigate them. You know, especially with something like Penny Dreadful, when you have 2 days and you got to create this scene, which I think the total runtime was what, like maybe 5, 7, 8 minutes?
Yeah, I think so. For
right?
The final, yeah.
You're pressed for time. It's a TV show, but you're still giving like Hollywood blockbuster budget quality.
Yeah, like
action.
full cinematic results
cinematic,
on a TV timetable. You know,
so you have to rely. Well, I don't know how heavy of a word relies, but you have to trust your team that you're working with. Totally. You have to trust everyone that's there. You have to know that they have your back, and anything that you ask them to do, that they'll be able to go ahead and help you with that. But it's super duper important that you're the captain and you're the navigator of that ship, or the co-captain. You know, when we would go ahead and create something, it always had to be approved by Mark.
Yep.
He's the boss man. He's the one that brings us in. At the end of the day, everyone's going to be looking at him. And if there's any kind of an issue, it's his face.
Yeah.
So when we design everything, we always go over it with the boss man, you know, and then we pitch it to him and present it to him, and he would look over it. For example, the first episode that we did, he got up on the crane and recorded a top shot, and then came down and we talked about it. And he started giving notes to performers, which is great because I'm on the bottom floor yelling, Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4 and 5. You know, everything has to be timed. So it's really a collaborative effort. There's no such thing as me. Even in the indie world, I can shoot it, I can direct it, I can choreograph it, I can edit it, I can do the sound design, I can make the music, but I'm not performing. I have other people doing that.
Totally.
So it's all a collaboration of work.
Hell yeah. And so when you get to the actual final project on something that's that big of a scene and undertaking, how many performers did you bring on SAG contracts, and how long did you have to shoot the duration of the actual scene?
We had about 50 performers.
Jesus.
And I think we had 4 days to shoot. It was 1 rehearsal day and 4 days of filming.
Wow, that is a huge stunt budget too.
And
that's huge. Yeah,
and
I'm doing the numbers in my head. That's huge.
We also kind of had like a splinter unit going on as well during that time. So when you watch the finale, you'll see the alley scene. Mark Norby and I were watching and navigating that, and our assistant coordinator Brian Duffy took over everything else. There were a couple of green screen shots, like 360 shots. Unfortunately, they didn't make it. There was a lot of stuff we shot, a lot of beautiful things that you can look at the previs and compare to the final product, and you'll see, okay, they took it out. And usually that happens, you know, we all know, because the show's X amount of time.
Of course.
So the first thing that they're going to take out is action. And if there's any kind of action beats that you have that aren't story related, they're going to take those out.
The fluff.
So when you kids choreograph for TV shows or movies, if you want to keep your choreography, what I recommend is doing the bare minimum, but also having the maximum, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, 1 second, let me go back. So, one second. Let me have some water.
It's so funny what you're thinking about, though, because I totally get what you're saying, though, which is you want to make sure that you put in enough of your own choreography, but you just need to put in the vital parts and also the story-driven parts. Obviously, stuff that's going to like help further push the scene and push what's happening. Obviously.
Absolutely, yes. And even though good ideas come here and there, sometimes you just have to let them go.
Yeah.
Because of the practicality of things.
Totally.
But yeah, and going back, if you want things to appear on the show that you're working on, I recommend doing the bare minimum to tell the story.
Yes, that's what you're trying to say.
That's what I was trying to say,
totally.
yes. For example, if we talk about the mid-season finale of Lucifer.
Season
right?
5.
Season 5, yes. The way it was written, Chris Rafferty, our writer, wrote it so that way in between the dialogue, I can have bits of action. So I was able to go ahead and coordinate where those moments of dialogue would take place. And it all worked out. We kept everything except for 1 or 2 shots from the previs. So when you watch the final product, it's very close, even shot for shot, because our director, Kevin Alejandro, who's also an amazing performer, which I found out doing season 4 of Lucifer.
Nice.
We had him do his first fight, episode 3. He's all like, hey, Vlad, I'm going to have you take over here, which was really nice because you don't see that often. And I'm like, that's great. Thank you, Kevin. But I'm going to be standing right by you, and I'm going to make sure that you're happy with any kind of direction I'm giving the performers to make sure that this is still the story that you're telling.
Yeah.
And then Chris was with us as well. It's like, hey, you guys need to make sure that what I'm telling the performers to do and the camera angles that we're doing, even though we're following previs, that you guys are okay with this because you're the writer and you're the director.
Yeah.
You know, thank you for giving me the opportunity and trusting me. But at the end of the day, it's you guys that made this thing possible. So you got to also be very wary and cautious of how you go about things and how you present yourself on set.
Yeah.
In regards to that, when people give you that opportunity to control it, you know, make sure that it's fun and exciting and people are doing a great job. And the beautiful thing about actually following the previs shot for shot is that we were shooting our actors out in 7 minutes.
Wow.
Lighting took time.
Yeah, of course.
Lighting was like 30 to 45 minutes per setup. But we'd get our actors in and out within 7 minutes whenever we had the setup for the camera angle.
Because you know exactly what you're shooting.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge time saver in the end. That I think that's one of the reasons why Previs has become such a popular thing where it's almost standardized these days, is because if you put in the time in prep, you can save so much on the shoot. As far as you have as many variables under control as you can. Obviously, things change in our business all the time.
Absolutely, yes.
Especially during COVID times and stuff like that. And that brings me over to like something else, which is obviously that was the mid-season finale on season 5, and you've been on Lucifer for season 3, 4, and 5. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys are now currently in production on season 6 of Lucifer?
Correct, yes.
Wow, that is crazy. And it's so cool to me because like we talked about before, is like that was a show that was on Fox Network. Mm-hmm. Basically got canceled by Fox, got picked up by Netflix, and now it's just running.
Yeah,
like
number one show in the world.
It's insane, man. It's insane. And so with that being said, how many episodes are you guys doing on season 6? And are you guys feeling any of the aftermath or effects of COVID and current protocols?
As far as episodes go, I believe this is common knowledge. 10 episodes.
Yeah.
COVID, absolutely, it's affected us. It's affected the stunt department in regards to the kind of action that we can create, the number of people that we can hire, all that sort of stuff. And, you know, now with productions being on hold in California, it's like, when do we go back?
Yeah.
You know, when can we resume? With things like this, especially when you're creating fight scenes, once you've designed an action scene, if you have any kind of prep with your actors, if there's any kind of a hiatus, you got to pretty much start over with your actors.
Yes.
You know, because on TV, there's no, especially now, there's no time to train and be in close proximity with your actors.
100%.
Like that. But yeah, I'm just like all the other shows everywhere in the world. COVID's affected it, you know, in a negative way. I can't say anything positive about COVID in our industry. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. Everyone's adjusting the best that we can, and you know, we're still creating. I think people are going to like season 6. What we're creating as far as action goes is very unique, and people haven't seen this yet. That's all I can say about that. But it's been fun. Simon Reese come on board. Hell yeah, Mastery. Hell yeah, Mastery. Hopefully you don't get bombarded with emails right now. But it's been a beautiful collaborative time with Simon.
Yes.
And I wish I could say all of our regular doubles, but again, due to COVID, the number of people that can work and the kind of scenes that are designed and created are limited.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I've heard that productions that had 50-man fights went ahead and did like a one-on-one.
Yeah, 100%.
Things like that. And that sucks because that's a lot of jobs lost. A lot of jobs lost. And it's like, if you're working, God bless. And if you're not, well, honestly, I don't know what to say. It sucks. It effing sucks. But the best thing I would recommend is just, you know, stay on top of your game. If you're a performer, make sure that you're in shape. You're working on your skills. I want to give props to some of the people out there that are performers and they decided to dab into like VFX.
Yeah, dude.
You saw a decent amount of that.
Yes.
So that's great. You know, anything that you can to take your mind off of this, anything that will help you steer away from depression or any kind of negativity. Because again, these are tough times. And when you can't do what you're used to, it's frustrating. Look, going back as to why I started the project that I did.
Yeah.
I couldn't take it being, you know, locked up inside. Doesn't mean I don't hop in the car and just go for a nice spin by myself for like 30 minutes in you know, Granada Hills somewhere. But some people need, the way people feel alive is by doing what they love to do. Yeah. And I started the project because of that. So if you're out there and you're still looking for work, it's like just, I don't know what I can say there's really no words of encouragement except for like, it effing sucks. This is the reality. Do the best that you can. Yeah. Try to maybe go out and, you know, shoot with people in the safest way that you can. That way you feel like you're being productive. I've been a proponent of saying that whatever energy you put into your craft, the craft will put its energy back into you. Totally. So anything you can do to stay busy in your field, I highly recommend doing that during these times when it's like, oh, we're working. Yes, we're going back to work in a couple of days. Oh no, now we're not working for 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe 5, 6. Now it's like, oh, what do I do? Okay, now I got to get creative. So if you need a reel edited by Vlad Rimburg, reach out to me at vjvlad@yahoo.com.
And it's so funny because I literally was going to segue into that, which was like, I know one of the other things you've been doing during this time is editing a plethora of demo reels for individuals, yes, and things like that. One of my favorite ones you put out recently was Amy Sturdivant's. That was a very, very dope reel to see. And just in general, like when you're formulating these reels and stuff like that, maybe just as some advice to some listeners that may not have heard earlier episodes or just, you know, stumbling onto the JAMCast right now. When you formulate these reels, I know the first thing you do is watch all the footage so that you kind of know the scope of it. But then how do you think others that maybe can't afford to hire you and are going to formulate their own reel, what would you say is a good formula for them to follow, or some stuff that should, you know, be included within their reel in order to catch attention?
Don't have too much of the same thing.
Yes.
If I see you do a backflip, I don't want to see you do a backflip again, unless there are other kind of variables or components involved, right? Fight choreography, please put any kind of screen fighting you have into your reel. Here's why. I asked for a female double once for Lucifer, and I think I had like 7, 8 submissions, and only one of those reels had fight footage in it.
Yeah, it's pretty surprising.
And I hired the person with the fight footage. Yeah. Hell yeah, Claire Hugenboom.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Claire. It's like, it'll, if you're gonna get involved in the stunt industry, you have to know which aspect of it you want. A lot of people are going the screen fighting route.
Of course.
Right? So if you're going to go into the screen fighting route, know everything there is to know about screen fighting. Back to practice, 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 and all that other good stuff.
Yeah.
So if I say I'm looking for someone for a fight and you send me a reel and there's no fight footage in that reel, I will probably not hire you. You know,
100%.
Like that. Know what it is that you're going for. And also, the beautiful thing about indie filmmaking is that you can go out, shoot it, and put it in your reel.
Even if it's a segment.
Even if it's you can go find a tree and go Sayuchi into a tree and fall on your back, right? Nice and safe. Put that in your reel. Be like, I know how to do like crashes, wall crashes, tree crashes, things like that. Run in, jump with your back, and spin off, you know?
Yeah.
Put a mat down if you want.
Yeah, it's all good.
You should put a mat down in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
We should practice safety first. And then if you want to get all nice and crazy, put another person in there, have them overlap the throw or throw a kick, and then you do the gag. Then you piece that little bit together. You don't need to go ahead and come up with a 1-minute fight scene, so that way you can use 5 seconds of it in your reel. Yeah. And that's the other thing I want to let people know. When you're creating fight scenes, just again, remember that you're putting it out into the public's eye, right? And I say this because I've heard of people losing jobs from posting videos because they're not that good.
Yeah.
If you and Joe Schmo are going out to shoot a fight with Joe Schmo number 2, and none of you guys have really been on the set, none of you guys have really been around choreographers or coordinators, you're going to come up with something meh. And then everyone's going to see that and be like, eh. So, you know, what I would recommend then, if you go out and you do a fight, send it to someone. You can send it to me. I'll give you notes and then redo the fight. I did the same thing with Aiden and Salif. They sent me a fight and I gave them notes and they redid the fight and it was a lot better. Just because you do one fight doesn't mean you move on to the next fight. Go back and redo that fight again till it's perfect, and then you put it out online.
Yes.
That's 100%. What I would recommend. Same thing with reels. Don't put the same repetitive information out there. Now, if you're doing like a gnarly gag, and every time someone sees it, they go, ooh, I don't mind seeing that a few times.
Of course.
Because now I know, okay, you are comfortable hitting the ground.
Yeah.
Right? If you send me, for example, like if I'm looking for a fighter or a overall stunt person, and you send me a bunch of fight footage and you send me flips, but you show me hitting the ground once, like, I don't know if this person hits the ground.
Agreed.
Now, again, nowadays we'll go ahead and put some like neoprene or some insulate, anything that we can on the day to make it nice and safe. But you have to remember, some coordinators are going to be like, hey, I'm sorry, I have absolutely no pads for you. Mm-hmm. You got to go to the ground, because if you don't, we need to do a plate shot, and that's VFX, and VFX costs money. That's something that I learned. VFX costs so much money in the professional world.
Yeah.
Like what? Muzzle flashes like $500 or something.
Yeah,
like that?
it's crazy. It's based on frames and stuff as well.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
crazy. Yeah, it's one thing that I tell a lot of people, like when they first start off, is to not get intimidated by seeing some of the other reels out there from, you know, some of our friends that have worked in the industry for decades. But at the same time, there is like a certain level that you need to include as far as like professionalism is concerned, and also more so just convincing the coordinator that you are someone that's going to be able to safely replicate those falls over and over again. Mm-hmm. I get sent a lot of demo reels, since we're on the topic of reels, where there's a lot of gym footage. And while that is great, like when you're first starting off and stuff like that, I do always try to suggest to people to try to eliminate as much gym footage as possible, because it doesn't really prove to me that you can safely fall on the ground. It would be much more impactful even if you just did it on like leaves outside or like a grass hill. You know, even though obviously I know it's softer than concrete, it makes me feel a lot more secure hiring you than someone I see where every clip of you is wire practice in a gym with 8 inches on the ground, or you're taking falls to a spring floor all the time. It's a totally different world, guys.
Absolutely, it is. Yeah, I feel comfortable doing falls on mats. Like, even with my dislocated shoulder, over at the original White Lotus, I think it was me, you, and Tim, and I was doing whack 3/4 back falls.
Yeah.
You know, onto mats. It's like, hey, I love it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to hitting the ground, I'll be like side fall down on my stomach or a Sayuchi.
Yeah.
You know,
You pick and choose.
Yeah, I got to be picky about that because shoulder dislocations and.
Yeah.
I was working a show and I dislocated my left shoulder for the first time a year ago. Something silly. My hand just slipped hitting the ground, take number 7. The most basic reaction, I mean, in my mind, taking a round kick to the stomach and then falling on your hands and knees.
Yeah.
But I oversold it. Like I made it big and grand because I'm like, yes, I'm going to get back into it. I want to get back in front of the camera again. I want to fight people. I want to do some stunts because that little flame ignited when I was working Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
Mark Norby's all like, we're going to have you in there. I'm like, perfect. Because I love realistic stuff, pushing, shoving. We were doing punches to anywhere except for the face. Mm-hmm. So on the day, I partnered myself up with someone new, right? You don't want to, anyone that's a coordinator out there or new to coordinating, what you don't want to do on set is partner up 2 brand new people together.
Thank you.
Don't partner up 2 brand new people together. So there's this gentleman, Trevor, and he's nice and green. So I partnered up with him, and he had a rod. I'm like, you just got to beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
I put it, and it's funny, and it was cute because I see people, you know, like the newer guys, they're putting on their like nice little thin pads and this and that. It's like, that's cool. I whip out my TKD pads. I'm like, I'm gonna get a beating.
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Pad up, baby.
So we kind of ran this little 6-beat choreography where he's just laying on me with the rod. And then he gets on top of me and he's choking me. And we had fun. I'm like, just beat the shit out of me. And one time, yeah, he popped me in the face. Another time, beautiful moment. Chris Carnell, hell yeah, rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace, brother.
Him and Frosty were fighting, and then either both of them stepped on my head or one of them, I don't remember, but it's like I'm in the middle of wrestling with Trevor and all of a sudden, boom, I'm like, oh shit. You know, and I like to have fun with these guys too. For example, Trevor and I would be wrestling and my police officer hat comes off. And then I'm navigating myself to find it because the pavement is all gravel.
Yeah, totally.
Like just doing this with your hand.
You get scraped.
Rips open your hand, right? So, and I'm just making comments like, fritcha, you know, like Joe Pesci stuff. I'm like, come on, hit me harder. Sometimes I like pull myself in. I'd be like, you better slam me right now. 3, 2, 1, go. You know, but it's all whispering underneath your mouth.
Yeah.
Things that people that have done some performing know how to do.
Of course.
Because we're familiar with where the camera is and we can make those necessary adjustments. And then at the end of the day, you come home and I'm just like, oh, I wore all these pads, but look at this nice blue mark. Look at this nice green mark, you know? Oh, my head hurts. That's right. Trevor hit me with the rod in the head because, you know, I probably forgot to block. Who knows? But it's a lot of fun. And that's when I was like, yes, I want to get back into it.
Yeah.
And then I did this other thing and pop, shoulders out. I'm like, I'm going to stay behind the camera. And if I perform, Brian Sawyer, you know, I'll make sure that I'm comfortable with everything that I'm doing. And the reason I say Brian Sawyer is because he's been trying to get me to perform. Wow. And he did. He did on Heart System. I went out and I fought Aki. And that was a wonderful experience. And when I looked at the footage, the final edit, I'm like, Brian, please be honest with me. Did you speed up any of my kicks? He's all like, no. And I'm like, yes. Thank God, you know. Oh, but also, he would allow me to look at the footage. And one of the things you can do as a choreographer, coordinator, someone that shoots previs, right, is give the people the ability to see themselves.
Yeah.
So when you're giving them notes, they understand.
Totally.
Like when I was practicing tongue sudo, I had bad habits where when I would do a high block, I'd go bend down and come up.
Telegraph it.
But I didn't know that. My dad told me that. He's like, you're doing this. So having, being able to see it is going to make a world of difference. And by being able to review it in the camera, you will be able to go ahead and hopefully make any kind of necessary changes that you need to.
100%. That's what I tell people all the time is like, camera doesn't lie, footage doesn't lie. Like one of the things I've been doing in a lot of my workshops recently is, we just do the same punching drills that we always do, like same ones you do, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, hook. But then I literally, after we've done the drill for like 30 minutes, I make them bust out their cameras and I have them team up and film each other doing the drill in slow motion. And then I have them go as fast as they can. And almost like, 80% of the time, especially for people that aren't experienced, as soon as they start going fast, form goes out the window. Yes. Their offhands are dropping down here and stuff. But when they watch it back in slow motion, because I make them film in slow-mo, they're like, oh, you weren't just picking on me. This is exactly what you're talking about. I'm like, yeah, like for someone like myself or Vlad or, lots of the guests we've had on the show, within 2 seconds of watching you, I can be like, oh, your hand's in the wrong spot. You're swinging too wide there. You're covering your face, But when you're first starting, it's invaluable if you don't use mirrors to film yourself and like watch playback and study yourself, it's a huge thing. And obviously that's why you've been so successful. You have more gigabytes of footage than anyone I know, dog. Anyone I know.
I would, you and Aaron, again, going back to that, mentioned Eric Jacobus, and I would have to say that Eric has probably more footage than I do.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Just film any opportunity we had. We're just like, hey, let's go shoot.
Yeah.
Eric was in Reading, so he had some people around him. I did all the driving.
Yes.
San Bernardino with Sean Charney, San Diego with Jay and
Bay
Dominic.
Area. Yeah.
Bay Area.
Bay Area.
Hell yeah. Every month I was in the Bay Area.
Yeah. 100%.
Bay Area.
And I mean, that's the coolest thing about it, though, is like, like we said, it's one of those things where you can't lie about this. Like the proof's in the pudding. Like on your Instagram this year, you released your 2006 demo reel, which is footage of you fighting.
Yes.
And then you also released your 2010 choreography reel, which was like from 06 to 2010, all of the trips you were making to go shoot indies and choreograph and be more focused behind the camera and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. One thing I think I want to start doing is just putting out like outtakes.
Yes.
Outtake reel.
That'd be sick.
Because in that 2006 choreography reel, one of the shorts I did was called Paid Off.
Yes.
And I was watching it recently, and I'm like, oh man, that's 2 minutes of outtakes, but it's like me getting popped and popped and popped in the head and the chest. I'm like, oh, my titty hurts. My titty hurts. And then the last thing you see Dennis Rule running in, doing a jump side kick and then a jump back kick, and then I'm just like, I'm on the ground.
Hell yeah.
Because we still didn't really know what pads were.
Oh, bro, I mean, you're talking to me. I know this. I mean, when we analyzed our first fight scene, it's horrendous, the stuff we're doing.
You're like, you're going to hit me in the stomach. Okay, just man up and take it. Like,
Totally.
what pads? I don't have any pads.
Hell yeah. No, that's so crazy. And this is a question that I like to ask individuals like yourself that are obviously so knowledgeable about action cinema. I mean, you're a historian as far as it's, in my opinion, Chinese cinema, Korean cinema, American action, and stuff like that. Is there anything that you currently have watched, maybe since we've last talked in the last year and a half, that you've been impressed with, or something that you highly enjoy? If you need to think about it, I'm just going to put this out there. I'm currently obsessed with Cobra Kai. I think I've been on a lot of shows where the writing isn't always the best, and for some reason, dude, I am just hooked on this storyline that they've developed. Obviously, the fighting is a little different because it's all adolescent teenagers. And the one thing that I'll give Hero Code a lot of props on is that it looks like 85% of the fighting is all the actual actors doing their own stuff. And I just watched the finale episode where they did another 2-minute oneer with all actors and a couple of stunt people sprinkled in and stuff. And I'm like, dude, all things considered, comparing this to $100 million Marvel movie, I get just a bigger kick out of watching Cobra Kai. And what they're able to accomplish with these teenagers and young kids sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Bigger doesn't always mean better,
100%.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as what I've been watching, I watched one TV show and one movie. New TV show.
Okay.
And new movie throughout this pandemic.
Okay.
Because I've just been so damn busy with either family or editing or reading scripts and budgeting and then not getting the call for the job. Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's a regular thing, by the way. Also, everyone, you know, once you get into that position, you'll be reading and budgeting so much.
It's a numbers game.
But yeah, and probably not getting the majority of those jobs. But anyways, yeah, there's no time.
Yeah.
Like even right now, I have 3 reels due.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as anything that I've seen, it was one Indian TV show called Mirzapur, season 2, which is about politics and gangsters. Hell yeah.
Okay.
And then I saw Tenet.
Ah, what do you think of Tenet? I haven't seen Tenet yet.
Well, I'll be very honest. I don't think it's a character-driven movie.
Okay.
But it's definitely a Christopher Nolan movie where when you're done watching it, you start analyzing things, and then you're kind of forced to go watch it again with all the information that you've had. I just don't have that kind of time.
Yeah.
But I thought it was unique. I thought it was brilliant in the sense of the idea that he was pitching.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you what it is or any of that, but when you watch it, in the beginning you might be like, huh, but when it gets to the finale, you're like, dude.
Genius.
Oh,
yeah, I have some friends that have watched it 5 times. Like, yeah, I had a friend that was in New York and flew to another state to watch it in a theater because New York theaters are closed. And I was like, is it really that good? All right. Obviously, I'm going to support it because all the homies are in it, but I just haven't been able to catch it as well. So
yeah, that's the only thing. But as far as things that I'm looking forward to, the new Kenshin movie.
Yes.
I think there's 2 of them.
I want to see Mortal Kombat, and I also want to see Snake Eyes.
I'm interested to see that. I'm very skeptical.
Same.
You know,
I'm interested,
but I'm also interested. Yeah.
Yeah.
Max Wang, he put out a short film. He's in Mortal Kombat. I think he's super talented. He was Jackie Chan's action director on Bleeding Steel, and
my homie Louis Tan is one of the leads in it.
Yes.
So major props to Louis.
It's nice. I'm looking forward to that. Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Because you got Chris Cohen and Joseph on there.
You got all the Asians on that one.
Yeah. I'm also looking forward to, when I have time, checking out Warrior.
The TV series.
Yes,
I was just talking to a friend about that the other day. Yeah, I haven't caught Warrior either, but it's getting amassing a cult following and getting a lot of positive reviews. So.
From everything that's been posted online, from people sharing either on Instagram or Facebook, I really like what I saw.
Yeah, props to Brett Chan and Johnny Yang.
Absolutely, yes. Hell yeah, guys.
Us. Another indie brother as well. You know, Johnny Yang been around EMC for a long time, and yeah, mad props. It's super cool.
But in regards to giving them props, it just goes to show what you can achieve when production's on the same page as a stunt team.
Yes.
What?
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
I mean, and for those that don't necessarily know what we're talking about as well, Johnny Yang's released a bunch of previses where you put them side by side with Brett, who's second unit, I believe, or at least, you know, I think he did some of the second unit. A lot of it shot for shot, just like we've talked about in previous, you know, instances here. And so, yeah, I always find that those productions where everyone's on the same page tend to run the smoothest, and you get one of the best products in the end.
Absolutely. If the stunt department is respected, I think you can expect good things. I think one of the reasons the action that Lucifer has presented its audience works is because of that respect level that the stunt department gets from everyone. Any questions we have, you know, the executives and the writers are always telling me, if you have any questions, reach out to me, give me a call, which is like, whoa, you know, because I worked on another show back in 2007 that might have been a Marvel show that didn't last the season.
Yep.
And it's like, no one cared who I was. No one cared what I had to offer. Yeah. It was a shit show. It was a nightmare. No one wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And then we saw the final product, and there was a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
A lot of times the stunt department is like you said, it's either A, we're an integral part of every single department in every meeting, and those are the ones that work out well, or B, we're looked as like this weird stepchild who's getting paid too much according to other departments, and they almost like resent us being there. And it's like, guys, we're here to we're just one piece of the puzzle.
Yes. But
like we all need to help put this puzzle together, you know, as best as we can. So
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see, man. It's very, very interesting stuff is on the horizon. And with that being said, like, I know that currently the Academy Awards does not obviously validate stunts in the sense that they don't have something dedicated towards stunts. What is your personal take on that? Is that something that you want to see in the future, or is that something that you don't really care about since you come from an indie background?
Oh, I absolutely care.
Okay.
Because I'm a part of it. I care to the point where I started observing the stunt community and I can see all the beautiful things that it has to offer, and I see a lot of its flaws. But when it comes to the Academy Awards, I mean, there are a lot of questions like, if it's a fight movie, who gets the Oscar, right?
Coordinator, the ensemble.
Yeah. I think the best thing to do is to try to navigate and create a respectful title, a title that's used overseas. It's used by Hong Kong cinema. It's used by all the Asian cinemas, and that title is Action Director.
Yeah.
I think that is a title worth going after for the Academy Awards. I wouldn't say second unit director, because second unit director implies so many things, as we spoke about. That could be, hey, we're going to shoot this fight, or that could be like, hey, I need you to go shoot kids skateboarding outside.
Yeah, get this insert of this hand on the ground, you know.
But what I've come to learn is that an action director is extremely valuable when it comes to action. And the reason being is because certain productions, maybe producers and writers, aren't familiar with character, physicality, and expressions that need to be there in order to help tell the tone or tell the story at that moment. Not a lot of actors know how to go, they don't understand that.
Yeah, totally. Vocalization is tough too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So being able to pinpoint those moments out, or like, you know, working on Lucifer season 3 with Tom Welling, Smallville, right? We did this fight that had karate involved in it. And I tell Tom, tuck the hand, tuck the hand, tuck the hand. That's big, right? Any kind of karate, if I'm throwing a punch and you see this out here or block, that's bad.
Totally.
Right? So these are the small details that an action director comes with. These small little moments, but also knowing where the energy needs to be in the fight. Just like a director would say, hey, you know what? I think maybe it'd be a good idea if when you said this line, you stood up and you walked over to the table. Or maybe if you did this with your glasses or did that. Same thing with an action director. There needs to be more intent here. You need to do this. You need to do that. Because action, in my opinion, is still fairly new in the West. And when I say action, I'm talking about action that's so perfect. And the word perfect is in relation to Hong Kong cinema, right? Because if we talk about fight scenes, I think Hong Kong cinema is the ballet of the action world.
Yep.
And whenever anyone's stuck or anything like that, everyone always pulls from Hong Kong cinema. Even Ong Bak, what was Ong Bak? Ong Bak was Tony Jaa beating the crap out of people with power moves. Yep. What is Hong Kong cinema? It's a melody, and the power move is the big payoff beat, right? So they're like, just take out all the melody and just go bam, 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 bam. There's always a full circle. So Hong Kong cinema, because it is what it is, and because they use the title of action director, I think out of respect for the action world, I think that would be a proper title to have as an action director. Essentially, you're a second unit director. That's what you are.
Essentially. But even specifically on the fights in action.
Correct, yes. Yeah. But like on Lucifer, I was saying the mid-season finale, I was the action director.
Yeah.
Any kind of dialogue beats, moments, anything like that. Kevin, Chris, this is all you guys. I'm not getting involved with that. I'm not a director, right? But when it comes to the action, I want to make sure that it's nice and good because I care. I care. Some people, they don't care. They're like, oh, it was a beautiful, easy day. Didn't do shit. Just had to show the actor how to do this punch. It was whatever, and then you see and it's like, okay, obviously you didn't care. I care too much.
Yeah.
And I want everyone around me to know that I care. It's weird. Like whenever I come on set or whether I'm working or I'm just watching and observing, as soon as I show up, it seems people start going a lot harder. And they're a little bit more disciplined. But that's just my philosophy. Like on indie projects, I'm like, we're going to work hard, and then we'll have fun.
Yeah, totally.
Like I'd be like, shut the F up, shut up, quiet. Because it's work time. It's not play time.
Yeah.
Even when we were doing my project, it's like, let's try to follow and create the best kind of rules we can with COVID for protocol. So for example, when we were shooting at Micah's, there were 4 people in the scene, but it'd be no more than me, Micah, and another performer at a time. So I think that took us like 4 days to shoot.
Yeah.
So it's like 2-3 hours a day. So I have like 37 days of filming on this project. You know, granted, some days are long and some days are like an hour and a half, 2-3 hours.
Totally.
But, you know, the best that we could do.
Yeah.
So second unit action director, I think is a good title to have for the Oscars.
Yeah.
Now, if anyone wants to be, you know, and play the devil's advocate, well, it's like, you know, in Hong Kong, stunt guys don't get paid what we get paid.
Totally.
In the U.S., we get paid very well. We do. Because, for example, in Hong Kong, it's just another job. I spoke with Andy Long, who was on the Jackie Chan stunt team, and he said, you know what? I was so excited to be a part of it. And when I joined and became a member, there was only 1 or 2 other guys that I could talk to about the history of Hong Kong cinema. You know? So it's like, yes, I'm a stuntman. Well, tell me something about Sammo Hung movies or Jackie Chan movies since you're working with Jackie. I don't know.
They just show up and do the job.
So when I start, quote unquote, calling people out on nonsense, I get furious because there are people all over the world, you know, getting paid shit money to do what we do.
Totally. That
are so much more talented than the performers here. And I hate to say it, that's just the truth.
It's just the truth.
That's just the truth.
Yeah.
We get paid well, and then people are, you know, making excuses and coming up with nonsense and, you know, fake it to make it. Like, that's not fair. That's not fair. I think everyone should go work overseas to have a humbling experience. My first real job was overseas before I was SAG, right? 12 hours a day. Action director, referee in front of the camera. Yeah. After every take, Justin's all like, Vlad, so I'm running back to the camera, right? Because we talk. I'm all like, if you think it's a good take, let me run over and take a look, right? So eyes and ears everywhere. So then if it was an 8-hour day on set, for me that day, then I go upstairs and I'm in the edit room. Yeah. You know, like I got the full experience. I went in as an action director for X amount of money, which was honestly very less, you know, because they're like, well, who's this guy? Yeah. Who's this guy? And by the end of it, you know, I got everyone money. I got Justin and Eric pay bump. Totally. I got them paid very handsomely during Christmas break.
I know about that. I know about that Christmas week pay.
Hell yeah, dude. Woo!
I know.
You know, but again, it was a learning experience. JJ sent me there with Larnell to learn about the business and to see how things are done overseas. So that way I can respect what I have over here.
100%.
You know, I'll be honest, when you're a fight coordinator and you go in to rehearse with your actors and you're there for 2 hours and you get paid a daily, it's nice. But the cons of that is when you're coordinator on the show, you're on a flat, you know, rate deal. So your performers could make they could have a $3,000-$4,000 day and you're stuck with the rate that you have. There's no overtime, no nothing.
100%.
So it's a give and take. When you want to try to climb the ladder, you lose things, you know?
It's all part of the process.
It's all a part of the process, yes.
It's all part of it, but my body is thanking me for making that transition early. And yes. Hopefully we'll be around. Hopefully we're in a generation where we'll be around to hopefully see some recognition come to stunts and action directing, because we're not young, but we're not old also. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that within the next, you know, decade or so, we'll start to see something change in that direction, and hopefully we'll get to be a part of it. It'd be cool.
I think so. I think, honestly, the indie community is helping. Yeah. The indie community is helping raise awareness of talent. Totally. And of not abilities, not in the sense of like, what can this person do, but physically performing, but as far as like creativity goes.
Yeah, and what's possible.
Yes.
On a shoestring budget.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
So I think we're there. My role in all this is, number one, to preserve the essence that is martial arts filmmaking. Yep. And the only way you can do that is by knowing it. So if you haven't watched those videos yet, California is on a lockdown and productions are on hiatus. Okay? Again, you have time to watch movies. You know, have that basic knowledge and understanding.
Hell yeah. I totally agree with you, dog. No time like the present. No time. And so obviously you've been on this. You are the guest that we've had featured the most times on the JAMCast thus far, which doesn't surprise me. I've known you the longest of any of the guests we've had. Yeah, I haven't had my parents yet, so you are the person I've known the longest. So with that being said, I've already asked you this question many times before about the 5-year plan and the 10-year plan. So I guess instead of broader spectrum, let's just be a little more specific right now. So hopefully we can lead into the next time we sit down and talk. What are your goals for 2021? And just in general, what are your goals for yourself as far as indie filmmaking is concerned in your own projects and maybe larger scale cinema?
We'll start with the indie world because that's where I came from. I'd like to shoot a couple more shorts. I'd like to finish the project. The reason it was on hiatus is because Micah went to work and all the other people went to work. Now some of them are back, but some of them are overseas. Some of them are here and there and there. So hopefully the universe will allow me to complete this. I took COVID as an opportunity to go ahead and create. From something bad, I try to make something good. And if I finish that this year, 2021, then everyone gets to see it 2022. And then I'll submit it to the Jackie Chan Film Festival and take home all the awards.
Dope.
Hell yeah, calling that out right now in the most beautiful and humble way I can.
Yeah.
There's information that I know about my project that I can't relay right now until it's 100% confirmed and we're actually there. People will see it on Instagram. They'll be like, ah. So that's in the indie world. As far as the professional world, I just want to keep designing. I want to keep fight coordinating. Possibly get in front of the screen if I'm comfortable with the action. You know, I'm terrified of these guys. More second unit opportunities. You know, I think that's about it. Well, one thing I always put out there is I want to get people work. I want to help provide work for others because if I do that, I know I'm working. You know, if I call you and I say, Travis, let's go, we're going to work, that means I'm working.
Yeah, totally.
And the beautiful thing is being able to help others because, you know, I'm hoping that someone somewhere out there is thinking of me and trying to help me. And at the end of the day, everyone that's ever gotten a job from me from the indie community transition into professional community is going to get hounded by me when my daughter is of age. You know, so I mean, it's like it's now it's as a parent, it becomes less about you and more about the child. You know, I always say the worst thing my daughter can tell me is she wants to be a doctor because I wanted to travel the world. You know, whether it's stunts or music or whatever, something art. But if it's just in case it's stunt, I think I'm helping prep that right now. And that's about it. I want to also no tomfoolery. Stop with the tomfoolery. Let's all just be good human beings and work hard and be good at shit. And if you're not good at shit, work hard to be good at shit. You know, when I started out, I sucked. I was terrible in the performers field, in the filming field. Like my first fight I ever did, tripod, 4 different camera angles, you know? So yeah, just keep doing what I'm doing, help people make more money, make money, period, with COVID. Travel the world a little bit more, maybe work on some overseas shows.
Hell yeah.
By the end of the year, what I would love to do is be able to sit down and watch a new reel of mine.
Wow.
That's what I would love to do, yeah. Because there's still Lucifer season 5.2. Yeah. That's got a bunch of good stuff. There's a superhero project that needs to be completed that we began when we prepped it at Jam.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff in the works. I hope they all happen. But with the uncertainty that is today, you know, I'm just going to do whatever I can to keep myself busy and occupied in the field that I'm in, because that's going to make me feel good and happy and productive.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, I mean, dude, from 18 years ago, from shooting fights together to doing our first YouTube that's at 7 mil to our first TV show in Primitive, hopefully in the near future we'll get to our first feature together. That'd be tight.
Absolutely, yes.
So, hell yeah, man.
I'm excited.
Yeah. So with that being said, before we get out of here, can you just look into this camera, let people know where they can stay up to date with you if they missed the other shout outs throughout the duration of the episode?
Hell yeah. Actually, there were a lot less shout outs than ever before. But in case you want to come and take a look at my work and why I speak the way I do, you can check out everything I've done at youtube.com/VJVlad. You can also catch me on Instagram.com/Vlad Rimburg, where I will post clips that aren't on YouTube. And you can also go to my official Facebook page on Facebook.com/Vlad Rimburg. I was always a big fan of seeing like little hidden things being put out from Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung. Recently, shout out to Jude Poyer, who put out the full fight between Mark and Samuel from Skinny Tiger and Fatty Dragon.
Oh,
all of us fanboys were going crazy. Me, Andy, Manny, we're just like so giddy, you know. So that's why essentially I'm trying to do that, like leave little trails and traces of what it is I'm working on. Like, so if anyone is really like a super huge fan, go check out all that stuff.
Hell yeah.
And if you're not, still go to youtube.com/VJVlad, Instagram.com/Vlad Rimburg, Facebook.com/Vlad Rimburg.
Hell yes, guys. Head on over there and check it out. With that being said, guys, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for brand new JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the movement community like Mr. Vlad Rimburg himself. So with that being said, guys, I got to give one more very special shout out. Thanks for coming through, homie.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm excited I made it out.
To the space.
Yes.
Hell yes.
Yes.
Hell yes. And as always, guys, coming at you, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Peace.